1519. The Gulf Coast of Mexico, where the land flattens into mangrove and salt marsh before dissolving into warm green water. The air smells of brine and rotting vegetation, and the particular heaviness of a tropical morning that hasn't decided yet whether to become a storm. Out on the water, long canoes move in convoy, dozens of them riding low under the weight of cacao, cotton bales, brilliant feathers, and jade, tribute flowing toward the island city of Tenochtitlan. 250 miles inland through mountain passes and highland lakes, the beating heart of an empire that neither the people carrying the goods nor the people waiting to receive them have any reason to doubt will last forever. But this time, something is sharing that water that has no business being here. Something 887 feet long. Something that displaces 45,000 tons and moves without sails, without oars, without wind. Can a modern battleship break the power of the Aztec Empire? Or does geography defend what obsidian cannot? Before we go further, this is a thought experiment, not a war college thesis. There are gaps in it, and I am aware of them. It is the version I found most interesting. The Aztec Triple Alliance in 1519 is not a civilization on the edge of collapse. That framing came later, told by the people who toppled it. What actually exists in 1519 is one of the most sophisticated hydraulic empires in human history, engineered over 2 centuries to extract wealth from a continent and funnel it toward a single island city. Tenochtitlan sits in the middle of Lake Texcoco at roughly 7,200 feet of elevation, connected to the mainland by 3 massive causeways running north, south, and west. The lake itself is the city's highway, its moat, and its food supply. An estimated 200,000 to 300,000 people live there, more than any city in Europe at the time, more than London, more than Paris, larger than anything the average Spanish sailor in 1519 had ever seen or imagined. The empire draws tribute from perhaps 400 to 500 towns across a territory stretching from the Gulf Coast to the Pacific. And the military that enforces that tribute is not a mob. The Eagle Warriors and Jaguar Warriors are professional soldiers who have spent their entire adult lives in combat. Their doctrine is built around taking captives alive rather than simply killing, which means they have mastered the hardest thing in warfare: controlled, precise violence at close range under extreme pressure. The war canoe fleet that operates on these coastal waters is fast, maneuverable, and crewed by men who have never once lost a battle they couldn't explain. They have never seen anything like what is coming. The USS Iowa, an Iowa-class battleship, the last and most capable battleships ever built by any navy on Earth. At full load, she displaces 45,000 tons, roughly the combined weight of 35,000 average adult humans packed into a single steel hull. She is 887 feet long, which is longer than 3.5 American football fields laid end to end, and her armor belt runs up to 12.1 inches of hardened steel, immune to every weapon that existed before the 19th century. She is driven by steam turbines, producing 212,000 shaft horsepower, which means she moves at over 30 knots regardless of wind, tide, or current. Her main battery is 9 16-inch guns arranged in 3 turrets, and each shell those guns can fire weighs 2,700 pounds, heavier than a fully grown white rhinoceros, traveling at roughly 2,500 feet per second. Her range with the main battery is 24 miles. She carries radar systems that turn darkness and fog into a detailed tactical map updated in real time. In our scenario, she carries her late Cold War fit, which includes Tomahawk cruise missiles and Harpoon anti-ship missiles in addition to her guns. Here is the honest geographic constraint, and it is actually what makes this interesting. Lake Texcoco is far too shallow for an Iowa-class battleship. She draws 38 feet of water. The lake's deepest points are measured in single digits. The Iowa cannot reach Tenochtitlan by water. She cannot sail to the capital. What she can do is sit on the Gulf Coast, where the tribute routes begin, and control every inch of water between the empire and the sea. The causeways that connect Tenochtitlan to the mainland are the empire's arteries. The canoe routes that feed those causeways from the Gulf Coast are the veins. The Iowa has just closed the vein. The first contact is not dramatic. It is almost quiet by the Iowa's standards. Radar picks up a tribute convoy, 40 canoes strong at 15 miles out, well before dawn. The convoy is riding low. Cacao, cotton, bound for the capital's warehouses. On the Iowa's bridge, it is a cluster of slow contacts on a screen, categorized and tracked automatically. On the water, the convoy's lead paddlers see nothing until the Iowa's running lights resolve out of the darkness, and by then the ship is close enough that its sheer mass blocks a significant portion of the horizon. The sound of the engines reaches them before the lights fully register. A low, continuous vibration felt in the sternum, in the back teeth, in the floor of the chest. Not thunder. Thunder stops. This does not stop. A single 5-inch gun fires one warning round 200 yards ahead of the lead canoe. The shell detonates on impact with the water. The waterspout it throws climbs 40 feet, taller than a 4-story building, and the shockwave crosses the water as a physical pressure, a wall of compressed air that hits every paddler in the face simultaneously. Several canoes back paddle in unison without anyone giving the order. A tribute master in the cargo section begins throwing jade pieces into the water. It is the only response available to him that makes any cultural sense. The convoy stops. The Iowa does not fire again. It does not need to. Word travels fast in the Aztec Empire. The relay runner system that connects the coast to the capital can cover 250 miles in under 24 hours when the news is urgent enough. The messages that arrive in Tenochtitlan over the following days describe, in Nahuatl, a thing for which Nahuatl has no word. A floating mountain of dark stone that breathes noise and moves against current and wind without visible effort. That killed the water with a single sound. The Tlatoani, the speaker, the emperor, receives the reports. The military council convenes. They do not panic. This is important. These are men who have managed tributary revolts, drought cycles, and political assassination for generations. They gather information. They send fast war canoes to observe the thing at distance. The scouts return and confirm. It does not move inland. It sits. It waits. It controls the water immediately around it, but it has not advanced. To Aztec military thinking, shaped by centuries of positional warfare and strategic patience, this looks like a siege posture. It looks like something that can be flanked. A war fleet assembles, several hundred war canoes, massed at the coast, carrying warriors who have broken battle lines that would have destroyed most armies of the ancient world. The formation is disciplined, the flanking approach calculated. They close to within 3 miles before the Iowa's radar tags the full extent of the formation, a crescent of contacts stretching across 4 miles of coastline, moving at paddling speed toward the ship. The Iowa's main battery rotates. 1 turret, 1 gun. The shell is in the air for approximately 23 seconds before it lands in the center of the formation. The explosion does not produce a waterspout this time. It produces a crater 30 feet across and a pressure wave that capsizes every canoe within 150 yards simultaneously. Not tips them, not rocks them, capsizes them. Instant, complete, no recovery. Warriors in cotton armor hit the water, and the cotton, excellent against obsidian and bronze, becomes weight. The Iowa fires 4 more times, once every 30 seconds, walking the impacts methodically through the formation. Total elapsed time from first shot to last, under 3 minutes. Not a battle. Not even close to a battle. Warriors who reach the shore describe it in the only framework available to them. Tlaloc, the rain deity, lord of storms and water, has sent a servant made of black stone to guard the sea. The thunder it makes is not lightning. Lightning flashes and fades. This thunder chooses where to land. But here is where it gets complicated. The Iowa has won everything it has been asked to win. It has not lost a crew member. It has not taken damage. It has not expended more than a fraction of its ammunition. And it has not, in any meaningful sense, conquered anything. Tenochtitlan still stands. The temples still rise from the lake. The markets still run. The tribute system, disrupted at the coast, begins rerouting within weeks, inland, through mountain passes, carried on human backs along trails the Iowa's guns cannot reach, because those trails are 250 miles away and 1,000 feet higher than the ship can go. The empire was not built on canoe routes alone. The canoe routes were the premium option. The mountain paths were always there. The Iowa carries approximately 1,800 rounds for its 16-inch guns. Every shell fired is gone. There is no resupply in 1519. No fuel oil waiting in any harbor within 2,000 years. The crew of 1,500 cannot safely go ashore in force against hundreds of thousands of warriors on terrain, jungle, canyon, highland forest that neutralizes every advantage the ship provides. On the water, the Iowa is invulnerable. On land, a mile from the coast, it does not exist. The Aztec Empire loses its coastline. It does not fall. The traders who carry accounts inland stop trying to describe the ship's size and start describing only what it did. The water answered it. That is the phrase that survives in the stories that spread from the coast into the mountains and eventually into the Valley of Mexico. The water answered it, as if the sea itself had chosen a side. Priests in Tenochtitlan incorporate the reports into existing frameworks of divine intervention and cosmic balance. One account describes the iron vessel as a tiba tree floating on the sea, rooted in one place, immovable, drawing everything toward it, anchored to the world below in ways visible things cannot explain. Merchants who detour through mountain passes rather than risk the coast begin building small shrines at the inland trailheads, offerings for a safe journey around whatever claims the water now. The military council, after a season of failed attempts and growing losses, issues what amounts to a formal designation. The sea, past a certain distance, belongs to the Iron Thing. The empire's southern and eastern tribute routes are expanded to compensate. Life continues. Empires are elastic like that. They have to be, or they do not last long enough to become empires. Somewhere on the Gulf Coast, the Iowa sits at anchor in the dark. Its radar sweeps the water automatically, cataloging nothing. In the mess hall, a crew member finishes dinner and goes to the deck to look at the stars, which are the same stars they always were. On the shore, a mile away, where a coastal trading post used to be, nothing moves. Further inland, past the first ridge of mountains, past the second, past the pine forests at elevation, a city of 300,000 people wakes before dawn to the sound of the morning star and begins its day, entirely whole, unreachable, and unchanged.